Welcome to Cashflow Diary, a podcast where we discuss business, money, real estate, and the sharing economy. As a full-time real estate investor, entrepreneur, and all-around problem solver, I have had the privilege of developing individuals into powerful business owners. And today, the focus turns towards you. Our mission is to help you build your real estate empire by leveraging strategies to grow yourself, your mind, and your wallet. Let's get started. All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. No, we're not going to do it like that anymore, guys. This is season 2. I'm Jay, and I'm glad that you have decided to return to the podcast. And I know we've been gone for a while, but ultimately, cash flow flows forever if you do it the right way. Now, here's the thing. It's been a long time since I've had an opportunity to talk to many of you, and I'm excited as we continue in this new season to talk about how things continue to move forward for those of us who think cash flow over capital gains, but most importantly, business change, the personal growth that's inside. In one of the prior episodes, you heard me mention that there were a number of individuals who helped me find hope again, right? Because there can be times where you just don't feel that great. And that's exactly what happened, for me. It didn't feel hopeful. It didn't feel good to necessarily talk about cash flow and positive and making business until I found a small little app, but many of you probably know by now, an app called Clubhouse. On that app, I found that many individuals were listening to season 1 of the content, which, yes, I know season 1 is 620 episodes. Don't fault me for not thinking it through. Just know that the seasons of content that we have already done, I didn't know that it would making a difference. And I learned that we made a difference when I got on Clubhouse. And there was a particular gentleman who was the first person to put 2 and 2 together as to who I am and that I was in a Clubhouse room and we were just talking. And the stories of what he's been able to accomplish, it arrested my attention. It made me feel better. It made me know that, hey, the work that we have done for more than a decade made a difference. And what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to meet him too. Because see, if his words made a difference for me, then maybe they'll make a difference for you. You who are out there right now looking, hoping to become bigger, better, and badder. I want you to meet my friend, Mr. Shawn Ackerman. Shawn, how you doing?
Let's go! What up, Jay?
It would not have been appropriate had you done anything else. That's for sure.
Hey, man, I'm blessed, man. Blessed. So happy to be here, chopping it up with you on this beautiful, glorious day, man. Thank you so much, Jay, for the opportunity.
Well, you do know that, we're approaching nearly 3 million downloads. So there's a lot of people who are going to hear you right now. So why don't you give the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we can jump into what got you started and how you found us, and more importantly, how you and I met.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So listen, man, just like any other inner city kid, man, from Brooklyn, New York, man, that's born and raised Brooklyn, New York, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I'm an 80s baby. I just made it. I'm like 1980 in June. You know what I mean? I'm just, so you guys can know how old I am.
Happy birthday, maybe? I don't know.
Man, yeah, on the 20th, man. Just passed, not too long ago. So yeah, man, grew up in the inner city, man. Around the crack epidemic, man, it wasn't really a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, in my immediate area. I mean, it was just a very chaotic way of growing up, man. But, I somehow, made it enough to graduate high school. I always kept my books in order. I was a relatively smart kid, and went on to get a 4-year degree in psychology of all disciplines. And I started jumped into the workforce. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. Well, there's something I want to break down, because you just said something that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I too
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
very similarly lucky. Barely made it,
Yes.
out of high school, out of the neighborhood. I'm from Savoy Heights. It's a neighborhood in Fayetteville. And let's just say there's a certain time of the day you just don't want to be there. Okay. And so I can understand
Yeah.
that completely.
Right.
But you said there were very few entrepreneurs. Why did you decide to become
Very
one?
few. You know what, Jay? After graduating college, getting my degree, and jumping into the workforce, man, I worked for 18 years, Jay. It may not seem like a lot to most people my age or a
I
little
think
bit older, but
there are some prison sentences that are shorter, but go ahead.
man, hey Jay, I woke up one day and I said, "This can't be life, man. I don't think that I was put here to just work for someone else until I'm 65, 70, and then die. You know, most black people don't live into the 90s and up to 100, man. So I said, what the hell is going on here? So
Okay,
that's really what.
let's talk about that right there. You said it.
Yeah.
Most black people don't live until the 90s and the hundreds. You said this
Right.
can't be life. But yet for
Can't
many
be.
of those that are listening right now, it is their life. So I have to ask, what
Yeah.
on earth possessed you to think that you could do anything different?
You know what, Jay? That right there, that's why you're so great at this, Jay. That question right there. You know what? I really just think I was tired, Jay. You know, I was tired of the mundane, the routine, the wake up, this
Whoa, whoa,
time,
whoa. No,
punch
no,
in,
you
this
can't get me
time, get a
tired.
paycheck, week.
Someone right now is listening and in traffic tired. They probably fell asleep and didn't wake up till I started. They're washing the dishes tired. They're changing the diapers tired. They
Right.
got up tired. They went to bed,
Right.
woke up still tired. It has to be more than that.
Right.
We've all experienced tired. There's more than that, Shawn. There's something that grabbed you and said, this is who you are. This is what you must now do. What was it?
Yeah, you know what, Jay? I really didn't see it around me, to be honest with you. But I knew that there was more to life, right? This is what I knew. I knew that this just could not be it, for me, right? In my life, because I've watched family members, go the illegal route, get in trouble, spend years and years behind bars. A lot of, people in my neighborhood die, so I guess I did have prototypes in front of me of what not to do. So maybe that encouraged me to the point where I realized that's just not the direction to go. And working for someone else, that just could not be the alternative. So I guess, I realized one day that there had to be something else. I always had this burning sense, like this, people talk about you have like angels on your shoulder, man. Something was in me, in my gut, telling me that there's more to this thing. You were put here for more. What that is, I can't put my finger on it, Jay. Call it the spirit, man. I don't know, Jay.
No. That's completely fine because you're actually
Yes,
tapping
sir.
into what I think a lot of people feel. They feel this calling, this like, is this all I am meant for? They like, wow, like, okay, I thought this was going to be exciting because we were all sold a bill of goods in some way, shape, or form and said, go to school, get good grades, get a job. And it sounds like you were doing that. And that also then leads me to my next question, though. If you were doing what you were supposed to be doing and you were succeeding the way that you're supposed to be succeeding, how much faith did it take to leave that behind? Because I think that takes greater faith than what happened to me. Yeah, I'm squatting in bank-owned property. Yeah, my credit score was 398. I had no choice but to do something with the public high school diploma. The world's looking at you going, you got all this stuff and you're trying to, you act like this ain't good enough. And you're like, it ain't. So
Yeah.
where did that faith come from?
You know what, Jay? I've always been, I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, right? When I was younger, I cut hair. I sold T-shirts. I sold CDs.
Oh, so you
I've always
responsible for all those
had that.
bootleg CDs? That's you? That was you? Okay.
Yeah, that was
And
me.
now we know
That
who it
was
is. Now we know.
so. I've always had that in me, right? Where I understood that, hey, buy at wholesale, sell at retail, make a profit in between. I've always had that, but it wasn't from the perspective of business, right? It was just from the perspective of hustle, right? Make some extra money on the side. And I thought working a 9 to 5, getting paid every 2 weeks, that was it, until I didn't, and what's on the other side of that coin? Fear, a lot of it, Jay. But, listen, growing up the way that I grew up, I've seen a lot, Jay, and it traumatizes most people, and I would say I've been traumatized by some of it as well. But I've had my back against the wall before. I'm almost comfortable in that space, right? Of not knowing, but wanting to still accomplish, wanting to see, I've always had that inside of me too. But what was on the other side of working a 9 to 5, man, was fear. That entrepreneurship, it was fear initially, but I knew I kept going back, Jay. There has to be more. This cannot be life. So Will, I would say got me there, man. Got me to the other side.
I got you. Got you. Totally understood. Now, this brings us to a moment in most of our lives where, okay,
Yeah.
you've decided that I'm going to be different. We're going to do things different. And then there's that day you did the different thing, but now it's the first morning after. You're used to be the 9 to 5 guy. Today, you're not. Tell the truth. Did you freak out a little?
Hey, you know what, Jay? I did, and it was
Okay,
a total. Yeah, I did, absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt.
I think we all do
because
to
my
some
mind
degree.
was changing. Jay.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what did you tell the truth? What was the story? What did you do? Do you like, man, am I supposed to go to work or do I go to the bank? What do I do? Where's my check come from? I mean, what what was that like? Because there's always that day.
Right. So when I eventually stopped working, so it wasn't I have this idea of leaving the 9 to 5 and then I quit. I was not doing that. I had a whole house, I had a whole family. So it was a gradual process. But the shift started 8 years prior, Jay. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow.
The shift started 8 years prior.
Okay.
So I worked, had an entrepreneurial spirit and was buying property for 8 years. I was doing them both together. And finally I reached a point where the income from the rental, it would just far surpass the 9 to 5. I stopped showing up. I just would start taking off whenever. I just didn't care because I didn't need that money anymore. But it was a mind shift, research, execution, right? There was a period of juggling both. Then I cut off the 9 to 5. So it was a very strategic process. But I remember when my mind shifted from working, having the mindset of have to work for someone forever, to, hey, there's this thing called real estate that I can buy one time and it would make money for and over and over and over and over. That day I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. The time.
And that's how I discovered you.
What?
And that's how I discovered you.
Really? Like, no. I was not. I couldn't. Was I the first person to say that to you?
No, I was. So it was you, Jay, and it was Bigger Pockets for me.
Ah, gotcha.
When I made that shift. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
About 10, 11 years ago, man.
Okay. This is crazy. And because it's funny because when you're a content creator and you're investor. When you're doing all the things that I do, you wondered, is anyone listening? Is anyone watching? Because that's why it started. CashFlowDiary started because I wanted to make sure that people who look like me, walk like me, were from neighborhoods like mine, had a shot at understanding some of the things that I had learned, that because I felt like God had put me in a very unique position. Like no one with my pedigree is typically allowed in these rooms, but yet here's what's happening to me. And I want this to happen to other people. And you heard that message somehow. And now you've just been listening and watching, and then you took the faith to go for 8 years building. You have to be the most patient person I have met so far. 8 years, bro. I don't know how that's a whole story right there. But everybody gets stuck.
8 years, man.
Everybody gets stuck right at that health insurance thing. And I'm just curious. Was that you where you're like, I still need my job for the health insurance? Did you say that too?
Right. Well, you know what? My wife is a speech therapist, Jay, and I don't think she would ever quit her job. I mean, she just loves it. So I'm attached to her her life insurance. Okay. Her health insurance. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
so I didn't have that issue.
Okay. Got it. Totally. Okay. So for everybody, if you want to solve that issue, get a spouse. Totally understood. All right.
Right.
So talk to me now. When you think about your business, how it started, and what it is today.
Right.
Was there,
man? Well, you know what? The way that I buy real estate hasn't changed one bit, but the access to capital has. The knowledge of how to apply capital to an asset has changed. And today I'm more focused on apartment buildings opposed to, singles and duplexes and stuff like that. I still buy 4 units, but I'm more focused on apartment buildings, having, 20, 25 people under one roof. You know what I mean? That's kind of the focus. I would say that would be the biggest change, Jay.
Oh, and that's I know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean. I get a little excited when I hear you, of all people, Mr. Single Family, talking about apartment buildings. Right. So I need to know what sounds like more growth is still happening. How did that change occur?
It is, Jay. And I just think that, it's growth. It's exactly what it is. It's like taking the next step in my mind, right? To growing out a portfolio of having more people under one roof, right? Just looking at the economies of scale a bit, and just really, to be honest with you, Jay, like in January, man, I had 21 vacancies in my portfolio. So I haven't really been buying anything this year. It's really just been focused on stabilizing. The last 3-4 years, I've just been focused on growth, trying to hit 100 units. Like that's been in my head since the beginning, right? And I got so focused on that goal where I was buying, but I had all these vacancies accumulating. So I was losing money trying to reach a goal of the number of doors, right? So I just been refocusing this year, just getting my places fully occupied, man. We're down to 7 vacancies right now, and just rocking and rolling, man. I'm sorry if I lost track of the question, Jay.
No. Well, you gave me new ones. It's okay, because you said on this goal for 100 units. Now, for everyone listening who might not be familiar, what you're saying is you were actually going to buy 100 houses. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I own 4 units, 3 units, duplexes, and singles. So I'm in the entire 1 to 4 unit spectrum. But yeah, I mean, it felt like 100 single family houses, and we got up to 89 we got up to 89 doors. But again, I had a shit ton of vacancies, man. So I'm like, what's more important? This reaching this goal or filling these units and actually making money on the properties that I bought, 6 to 8 months ago that are just kind of, lying vacant. So yeah, man.
Understood. That
That's
makes
kind
sense.
of that's yeah.
No. That totally
Yes,
makes
sir.
sense. But let's get this for a second, because see, you are demonstrating for a lot of people. And one of the reasons that I like doing interviews on the podcast from time to time is because I'm of the firm belief, yes, the music and the entertainment industry, sports industry, they're there. And that's where a lot of people get their idols from. And I think there would be more in other industries if their stories were just told. And that is kind of what we're doing right here. I also believe that wealth is for everyone. And that means me, that means you, and that means every one of you that's listening. But where on earth did you get the audacity, young man, to even think that you could have 100 doors? Because most people I run into on a day-to-day basis, I try not to tell them the real things I'm after and what I want to do, because when we first say things like 100 doors, all that are surrounded by us say things like, you? What? Did you experience anything like that? And if so, how did you deal with it when someone said, you? I know you. You're that same Shawn. We used to, you know what I'm saying? How did you deal with that?
Right. Yeah, you know what, Jay? To a certain degree, I still, and I don't really know why I keep these people around, but they're family. You know what I mean? It's hard to kind of just
wait a minute. I've recently learned there's a difference between family and those you are related to. It sounds like you're talking about the people you are related to, not family. I'm just saying.
Yeah, maybe I need to reclassify. But yeah, man, I definitely had the naysayers, and most of that early on was people that I actually work with that had no entrepreneurial vision, right? They were going to retire at this employer and get a pension. So early on, that's really where it came from. But as the growth began, there were people around me, man, in my immediate circle that were like, Shawn, you sure you want to buy property from 700 miles away? Why Wisconsin, the cheese state? I've never heard of that place, right?
Yo, I like me a good brie, though. I do like me a good brie. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Right. Yeah, man. So there was a lot of that, Jay, but determination, man. Once I set my metrics, once I reviewed all of the markets that I was looking at, and Milwaukee had everything for me. There was nothing no one could do to deter me, to be honest with you. And that's really just the way I am, man. Once I have it in my mind that I'm going to accomplish this, and that nobody can stop me, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, I did have to deal with a lot of it. I'm not gonna lie, Jay, and I just had to cut people off, unfortunately. Some family members and friends, and just keep trucking, man. Just keep pushing. I really did this journey listening to people like you, Jay, Bigger Pockets, listening to the podcast. That's who I did my journey with, because there was no one in my immediate sphere doing this. So I had to draw inspiration from outside, and that's why what you were doing, Jay, and I know you always say, hey, you were making the content hoping that people were listening. Jay, I was listening, man. I was tapped into the podcast, man. Now your focus was always cash flow. There was a real estate component, but you do so many different things on the cash flow side, Jay. Yeah, but I understood your message, though. I understood your message. Compound income coming in and make that sucker grow, man. So yeah,
I
man.
like that.
That's me.
And I feel fortunate to have met you. You have no idea, because there were so many days where it's like, why am I doing this? Why stick my neck out? Why risk? Because and I'm going to ask you this question, because see, in the Black community there can be this thought process. Oh, you made it, but you're not coming back to help us. When someone says something like that to you, because yeah, I heard it in the sigh already. I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
When someone says something like that to you, what goes through your mind, and what are you thinking, and how can they actually see that we are out here making a difference in the best way that we know how?
Right. Well, I would say to that, Jay, survivor's guilt is a real thing. I dealt with that quite a bit, to the point where, I was really overreaching back, right? And trying to pull people who are just not ready to transition, who are just not ready to change their mindsets, right? And I would try to force it upon them because I knew real estate would work. I knew it would work for me. Before I bought that first house, I had done all my research, Jay, for 18 months, traveling back and forth to the market. I'm like, guys, this is it. It's gonna happen. I can see it. But I was trying to pull people who are just not ready, man. And listen, I still have people today, that were around at that time and kind of see where I am today. And they're like, hey, Shawn, man, teach me how to do this. And I'm like, bro, I tried to show you this 6 years ago, right? I tried to show you this 3 years ago, 6 months. You remember when we met and I said, hey, this is how you reach out to a seller. This is what you need to tell them. This should be a script. Ask these questions. Send your contractor in. Go. You remember all that we talked about? I've been trying to tell you this. So today, I just put it all in a platform. You know what I mean, Jay?
Yes.
And I say, hey, listen, you want to learn this? What I was trying to teach you 6 years ago, 5 years ago? That's where you can find it, But yeah, man, it's been a difficult journey. I'm not gonna lie, Jay. Just making a transition from into entrepreneurship and actually making some real money, man. I didn't grow up with money, Jay. So I'm really now just learning how to properly allocate, how to pay taxes properly. Hiring CPAs, attorneys. I just got my trademark done.
Yeah.
So a lot of this
Congrats.
stuff is new.
That's cool. That was a process.
Yes,
that
sir.
was a process.
Man, oh man, yes it was. Yeah, man. So a lot of this is new to me, Jay, to be honest with you. But I still have a soft spot for people that are looking to get started. That will always be there. But I really look, Jay, I really look for people who are going to take action today. Not just you thinking about it. No, you realize that you want to be an entrepreneur. You want to buy and hold real estate. I can tap in with you. Here's how we can get there. But yeah, man, it's been a journey, man. Survivor's guilt is a real thing. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally understand. Totally understand. Been there, done that, still doing that to some degree. And let me ask you this. When you look at it, you say buy and hold. Everybody loves that idea, holding assets long term. Is that all you're doing now? Or do you have something else going on? Because a lot of people think they need to do 4 different strategies so that they then can one day, hopefully, possibly hold some real estate, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, I got you. Well, everything that so I Kept It Real Estate has 3 components, and everything is centered around real estate. So we have the buy and hold arm. We have a direct to seller wholesaling arm. So we really buy properties from our other company in-house. So one of our companies really goes out, finds the deals, negotiates the deals, gets them under contract. Then we kind of cherry pick what we're going to buy versus what we're going to sell for active income. So that's like the second business we have, and obviously an education component where all of the bumps in the road, all of the things from, start to present day, we kind of put it all into video format content on the platform. But yeah, those are the three arms, Jay, and that's what I do day in and day out. And I talk to cool people like you during the day.
Yeah, it's funny that when someone, I've had people like watch that, they say, "Hey, Jay, can I come watch you work?" And I'm like, "You could, but you're going to be bored." Right. Would you find that to be the case?
Oh, Jay, man. Listen, see, I thought once I left my 9 to 5, man, I'll be taking trips to the beach, going down to Florida, going down to, Jay, I just had this crazy entrepreneur, do your business from anywhere, which I could really do my business from anywhere, It's kind of boring though, Jay. I'm not gonna lie, man.
I know. I tell people,
Jay, I wash my car every day. I have a routine because I have nothing else to do, Jay.
I understand.
It's terrible, man.
I understand that. See, I try to tell people in times I got into photography and ended up working. Literally, I went and got a job at the newspaper to shoot photos because I had nothing to do.
You're right.
And so I'm making sure that you now understand what I mean. And I'm glad to glad to hear that's the case. So for a moment though, I'm gonna go here because I am a father of daughters, and I am learning that it's hard for women and men to figure out each other. So I'm curious, if you had to tell a young lady, here's how you can find a guy who will end up like me, what would you tell her?
Yeah.
I know, totally, right? You didn't see that one coming. Come on.
Yeah, that was left field for sure. That was definitely left. Question, and I'll tell you why. When I met my wife, I was making $18,500 a year. And
that's
she was
$18,500 US, United States currency. I just want to make sure everyone heard that. Go ahead.
Per year, 2001. Per year, Jay. Per year.
Not
and my
per
wife
month,
was making over $80,000. No. Year, Jay. Year. And I would do crazy overtime just to see a decent check, And my wife was making over 80K, man. And, at that time, and she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, right? She saw potential. I don't know where the hell she saw it, Jay. I don't know how the hell she saw it, Jay. I don't know. But she saw potential in me, right? At that time. And I started, harassing her to take her out and, to go out for coffee and eventually dates and, stuff like that. But I'm sure her dad did not see me coming, right? Ooh. You know what I mean? So to answer that question, you can't really... I would definitely say to a young lady, specifically to my daughter, that today's person, okay, may not be tomorrow's person, right? You're going to grow as an individual, and whomever you seek to be with, they will also grow as well. I would tell my daughter, most importantly, to have her ducks in a row. Well, I'll make sure she has her ducks in a row. But there's some basic things that she needs to look for in a person. All right. Character, first and foremost. They need to be respectful, right? You have to have some level of, respect for others. And it's not necessarily just elders, it's all people, all living things, right? You need to be of that pedigree. And yeah, man, and they have to make you feel good, feel alive,
Yes,
And I
yes.
hate to get off on this conceptual
No,
kind of
it's fun.
tangent, Jay. But
Let me
it's
let me
really
tell you.
not
Let me
about
tell you. I'm partially conducting research for myself because I'm like, because I'm having trouble. I got daughters, man, and I'm like, okay, he's got to be dealing with this
man.
too. How? Because see, in our
Right.
community,
My daughter's 5, Jay. My daughter's 5. So I'm gonna learn from you
oh man,
eventually. Thank you
oh.
for doing the research on me, but I'm really gonna learn from you. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, when when a Shawn Ackerman happens, now that's a chance for the Ackerman name to last. And in order for that to
Right.
happen, it has to be taught to the children. That's the
Correct.
intergenerational wealth, is the education, it's the understanding. So I'm
Right.
partially on this path. I mean, you cannot have a part of your cash flow diary, if you will. It can't just last one generation, and it's not just about using the correct accounts, your your 401ks and your 412Is or
Right.
457s and educational coverdales and everything else. It's not just that. It's we as fathers have to also give that information, not just to our sons, but also to our daughters. So it was kind of a double-edged sword that I was doing there because I want to know for myself, because this is not an easy
Yeah.
topic to deal with. And it's something I know
Yeah.
that you are already wrestling with because you're thinking estate plan and
Yeah.
trust and all this other stuff that, well, honestly, was never a conversation at the kitchen table. So here's my question.
Man.
Knowing what
Go
you
ahead,
now
Jay.
know and having experienced what you now experienced, what is different about your kitchen table than the one that you grew up at?
Oh man, it's a lot more. We're talking about money. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? We talk about it at the table, outside of the table. We talk about it often, how to compound money. My son is 11, Jay, and he's got an e-commerce business where he sells Rubik's cubes, right? He buys them and he puts a little sauce on them, then he resells them on eBay and stuff like that. But we talk about money. We talk about how to compound money. We talk about how to make money work for you. My biggest thing is trying to get my wife to understand that I know you got a master's degree, well, 2 master's degrees. And I know you got your 4-year degree. I know you spent all this time in college. And my wife actually graduated from NYU here in New York. But I need you off, I need you to come work for the family, But yeah, we're talking about money, Jay. And we're talking about it often and how we can earn more of it, how we can keep more of it. Yeah, things like that, man. And really spending family quality time together. We're planning trips together. It's more of an easy vibe, to be honest with you, Jay. I never really thought about it. That's a great question, but it's an easy going vibe, man.
Got it. Totally understood. Totally understood. And again, why think about something that you were never going to have or never seen? So it makes sense. But that's also why I want to ask that question because I want to bring that into the consciousness of, because that's part of the reason you wanted to do the thing in the first place, is to put yourself and your family in a situation in which things like this could happen. So let me ask this before because I want to get a little bit to a different section of the podcast here, but I'm curious to know when you think about, say, today's economy, right? When you think about everything that's going on, because part of thinking about your kids is planning for that future. It's like, oh my God, what are they going to do? Are you done? Do you have enough, or do you need more?
Kids or money?
Assets is what I was thinking, but yes.
Okay, gotcha. I think there's definitely room for growth, Jay, and I think that's why I'm looking at the apartment building play right now. Because you know what, I say my daughter is 5 now, and when she was 3, I bought her a 4-unit. Which when she's 18,
back that up. I know somebody was washing dishes, or you made somebody just pull off the road when they heard that. You said when she was, and you said it like, oh yeah, this is what we do. This is how the Ackermans do it. Just so you know, when they turn 3, they get their first fourplex because hey. What else would we do? Anything else would be uncivilized. That's literally how you said that, bro. I just want to point that out.
Hey, man. I got you. Well, that's how I replayed it in my head. But yeah, you know what? Because for my son, we did a 529, right? We didn't really know. Sorry about that, Jay. For my son, we did a 529. You know, I really didn't know any better at that time, and my son is 11.
Whoa, hold on. You just made somebody mad. For your son, you did a 529. We didn't know any better. What's wrong with the 529? That's what somebody just said. Absolutely. Somebody just said that, though. I'm just telling you, somebody. Remember, millions of downloads. Somebody said it, but that's okay. I will deal with that heat when the emails come in.
Awesome. There's absolutely, for the record, for the millions of people listening around the world, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the 529. Let me just say that. However, I do realize that this fourplex that I bought my daughter 2 years ago, I mean, it has already appreciated over 100 something thousand. I could only imagine what it's going to do in the next 16 years or the next 12 years or the next 14 years, right? That 529 has not appreciated that much. So I'll say that, Jay.
So in other words, what you're saying is you love your daughter more than you love your son. I understand. I mean, hey, it's totally fine. Fine.
You know what? It's just growth, Jay. There's just growth, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know when my son was born.
And that's my point. I want everyone to hear that because we always try to know everything before we do what we already know. If we just did 10% of what we know, we might be so much further ahead, period. So let me ask you this. The fourplex and the real estate and everything else, when it comes down to, building the Ackerman legacy, what is, because here's what I know. Once you understand apartment buildings, you're going to want to understand commercial buildings. And then once you understand commercial buildings, you're probably going to want to understand cell phone towers, billboards, and some other alternatives. And once you understand those, you're probably going to want to understand oil. And then once you understand oil, you're probably going to want to look into song rights. And once you understand do you hear where I'm coming from?
Yes, I hear you.
This is how I ended up doing so many different things because I like learning too.
Yeah,
too. So
absolutely.
I'm going to ask the question again. Is there ever enough?
Go ahead. You know what? I think that there will be. I truly think that. But I have to reach that point, and then you have to ask me the question again.
He's like, right? Not yet, but okay.
You know what? Because really, Jay, really, when I hit, like a $250,000 a month, I think I'll be straight. there. But again, you have to ask me at that point,
Bro, you won't be
because by
straight there.
then,
You won't be straight. I'm just telling. I'm trying to tell you now. You won't be straight there.
so yeah, we will have to circle back and do this, in a couple of years, Jay, and you can ask me the same question.
No doubt, no doubt. Because here's the difference: when a man or a man who's willing to take the responsibility that you have, what happens is that you grow competent knowing that you can take on responsibility. So you'll see a problem and go, cool, I can solve that one too. And then you take on more responsibility. And every time you take on more responsibility, everything changes for you. And you just keep doing that. That's really what it comes down to. And that's great. We need more, a lot more. We need more people telling your story out there, letting them know that, hey, you don't have to sing a song, play a sport, and play with powder in order to make it work. So if someone's been listening this far and wants to check out some of the things that they've started or that you've got going on, and want to check you out online, what's going to be the easiest way for them to start their journey so that they too can begin to build their legacy?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Jay. I would say that the place to start would be going over to ikeptit10k.com. And I'm going to tell you specifically what you should do. So when you go to ikeptit10k.com, we have our information sharing platform. It's called IREU, right? There is a free version of our platform, but there's a specific content I would want that new person to take a look at. Because for me, Jay, understanding that real estate was the avenue, understanding that I didn't need a middleman to buy real estate. I wanted to go directly to the seller and talk to the seller and negotiate terms or negotiate a deal that I could either keep or resell. When I learned that, that's the most powerful thing that I've ever done in my business. So for free, I have people watch the Prop Stream Mojo video and that free platform at ikeptit10k.com. And that, I think, would be a great starting point for anyone. No matter what your background is, no matter what your current profession is, because really understanding how to go direct to seller is a business in itself. And whether you keep the property or not to grow a portfolio, that's truly up to you. But it's really a powerful, powerful way to get started.
I love that. And I'm glad that you have chosen that way as a way to spread your knowledge and in a sense, preserve that intergenerational wealth. So what we're going to do now is going to switch to a different segment inside the podcast. It's more of a live Q&A. So for those of you listening right now, there's a platform out there. It's called Clubhouse. You definitely want to get it, download it, find us at CashFlowDiary on Clubhouse. And what happens is from time to time when we're talking to amazing people, you'll be invited on stage to speak so that if you have a question or you want to state something that you learned from that individual, we can go ahead and discuss that and chop that up for a little bit as well. So what I'm doing at this exact moment is inviting other people from the Clubhouse room on stage, and you're going to hear from them regarding some of the things that you've heard today on this particular episode. In fact, the first person up that I see right now is a gentleman that, well, all I'm going to say is adjust your headphones, because he has lots of passion for what it is that he does in the credit space. So, Mr. Flame Newton, I'm curious to know, what did you think about what Shawn had to say, or do you have a question for Shawn, or what did you learn?
Got in pretty late with Shawn, but one of the things that I did get towards the end was when you were talking and you were saying about the amount of money, and that was that $250,000, and you were saying no, it wasn't. So my question to you, pertaining to him and to the people, is what numbers do you think that are adjustable for people to say is that breathing relaxation zone from that point?
Ooh, great question. Shawn, I'll let you go first.
That's a great question. And what's going on, King Flame? I definitely follow you, man, and everything you've been doing in the credit space for years. So salute to you, King. Thanks for tapping in, my man. You know what? Honestly, what most people and what I looked at is my current bills that I had. And beyond that, what I needed to be like semi comfortable, right? Where I didn't really have to think about mortgage, vehicle, savings, my SEP, for the business, putting money away, aside, when I reached that number, I was like, okay, this is a platform for me. And for me, that was probably about when I hit about 30K a month. But it wasn't really that number. It didn't really last that long, man, for me. And remember, I have a very simple house here in New York. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. You know what I mean? So, but I definitely wanted more after I reached that particular point, because I wanted to grow a portfolio. I wanted, now to reach 50 K, because we're talking gross here too. So that's not money I'm taking home. I have to pay property management. I have to pay taxes, insurance. So cut that number in half. It really gives you that, take home plus debt service. You have to pay on top of that. So. Yeah, it's hard to say, man, but for me, when we started generating 30K off the rentals a month, that was awesome. Our wholesale business was also doing well at that time as well. So, yeah, man, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I'm gonna let you tap in, man.
So, and to this question, it's definitely a hard question, but one that needs to be asked of yourself. My first number was $10,000 a month. Now, what happened though is that my perspective at that time was such that it was going to take a decade to get to $10,000 a month. No one had told me that 18 months was all it's going to take. I didn't know that. And what happened through that process is I had sold myself of, oh, this is going to take forever. And I got to work like I've worked for other people hard all the time, constantly. So that's what I started doing. And what ended up happening is that I didn't even notice when we passed the $1 million a year mark. In fact, I didn't even start. I noticed when we hit 4 million is when I noticed that I had even done anything. And it's somewhat embarrassing to say, but I was under so much trauma at that time, having been homeless and all this other stuff. We were still living in a 2-bedroom apartment, maybe 1,100 square feet, because I was afraid to have my rent go up. Because if I was like, man, if something happens, I don't want to risk that. Right. And I was still in trauma from just having experienced so much that I just didn't know that, assets keep going. And yes, it was there, but I was afraid to even touch it or do anything with it. Does that make sense, Flame?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then start looking at other things. Pretty much too is instead of sometimes the numbers of what it actually is, more of the X's that it is. So if a person has, I don't know, if a person has a company and it's making, I don't know, if it's making $10,000 a month, how do you 10x that to get that to 5x that, right? Or to, trying to 7x that or 3x that or 8x that number, so you can actually bring in those numbers as well. You know what I mean? That part.
Yeah, well, and for me, and this is what it comes down to, I believe, for most of us, we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you're no longer working just to make sure that you can eat and put food on the table, you're now searching for significance in some way, and it ceases to be about the numbers. In fact, I don't think about the numbers the majority of the time. I just don't think about the numbers anymore. what I think about is how many more families can we create and get into the 7-figure mark? 7-figure families is what I often say. That's what I think about more than I think about my numbers. I think about how can I get you to your first 7 figures, because that's way more fun for me than it is to go out and do yet another deal. And it becomes a purpose and a passion that I get sold on each and every day, because especially when you're living an asset-based lifestyle, you know fundamentally that whatever you do today isn't really going to make that big of a difference inside of your, take home that month. So it's like, okay, I mean, I could do something, but I don't have to. And if I'm going to do something that makes a difference with this energy that God has given me, I want to make sure it goes somewhere. And for me, that has been pouring it into other people.
Well said, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see who else we have. Oh, a female voice. This would be great. So Miss McKee, I'm curious. I know there was at least one comment that you've got a response for. But what did you hear from Shawn, or what did you learn, or what do you think?
I just wanted to say I did enjoy everything and hope you guys can hear me. I love the questions about the daughters and communication. And I totally get what you're saying about the money trauma. Oh, red bar, sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you fine. And remember, we've got post-production, so the editing people will get it right. Go ahead.
I can totally resonate with you, not personally, but in terms of that magic number, because one of the things, how the wealthy utilize their assets, I can totally relate to what you're saying. That indoctrination level, that ease of, I can pretty much do whatever I need to do and not really be concerned about it. There's a budget, but it's such a global budget that they're okay. It's more of like, which tax bucket do I use as opposed to, which bucket do I use? Which more tax efficient. So I'm just happy to hear that, Black people have achieved that level of this is okay. And that responsibility and accountability will probably be passed on to your children. And that's what true generational wealth and legacy is. So congratulations to you. That is awesome.
Hey, salute, Queen. Appreciate you.
Go ahead, Shawn.
No, I was telling her salute, and I appreciate that comment and that perspective too. And it's great to hear from a queen as well, man. And I should have known, Jay, that would be, she would have a question related to your question about my daughter. that must have struck a lot of nerves there in the audience, man. So, but salute to you, Queen.
So, and then I see Mike is on stage because, I've been talking with Mike in the health insurance space. So I'm curious, Mike, what did you hear? What did you learn? Do you have a question for Shawn or myself?
Hey, man, I'm just up here to support you guys. Every time I see Mickey and Flame and you and, all the rest of you up here, I'm like, man, I gotta be on this stage, Shawn was just dropping gems and you was dropping gems. And my question is, in essence, I deal obviously in health insurance, also doing commercial lending, et cetera, et cetera. My question is, in your opinion, what's the ultimate acquisition to make? I think one time you were going through it and you were talking about go from your single families, and that's not good enough. You need to go to your multifamilies. Right? It's not good enough going to your commercial properties, and you ended up on cell phone towers, right? But then now you've given like 4 or 5 more steps. I'm like, man, I want to know what the ultimate step is. What's the ultimate goal or the ultimate acquisition for you that you think is has the best ROI or is the best opportunity to grow and develop? And do you think that the follow-up question there is, do you think that going from a syndication perspective is the best approach, or how do you usually go for that large goal that you're looking for?
I'm assuming that question's for me.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what, Jay? Let me just hit something real quick. I would say to that, the best acquisition would give you the greatest return on investment. That's the way that I look at it now, right? I give an example. I bought a deal recently that was actually underwater, had zero equity in it, but had amazing cash flow. right? So we the outlay for it was maybe 20 grand, but it's yielding $800 a month, and actual money in my pocket. So for me, that was an awesome deal because the returns were great. So I would say I look at anything that, has a 16, 18% return annually, just to put it in like specific numbers. But Jay's probably going to go into highest and best use and, all of that stuff. So Jay, you take it from here.
Well, actually, here's the thing, Mike. Yeah, what's best is relative to who you are at that given moment in time. So as I've said before, I say again, you do your first deals for experience, not profit. And then later you get to profit from your experience. So because I'm because I'm a person who wishes to continually accept challenge, responsibility, and continue to grow, that's why you've heard me talk about so many different things. So the next best thing, in my opinion, is typically the thing I'm working on at the moment, which is hotels. So I want those now. However, I can say from a revenue per square foot situation, it's really hard to beat a cell phone tower. It's really hard to beat those because it's maybe 500 square feet. Maybe. And if you get a rooftop one, it's even better because now it can be attached to an existing building. So it's really, really hard for me when I look at the math and the numbers. Plus, unlike many of the other streams, cell phone towers have in my opinion, a greater sense of liquidity. I can exchange those usually direct to Wall Street within about 30 days or less. So if I've got a cell phone tower lease, I can turn that into a couple $100,000 relatively easily, as opposed to having to go through the long process of trying to actually sell the building. Now, in regards to syndication, how something gets financed is okay. That's up to you. I'm okay with syndication, but here's a warning. One of the things you must understand is, as the syndicator, you are taking on everyone else's worry, doubt, fear, and concerns. Meaning, if you buy property in Florida, you're going to have a situation in which when hurricane season comes, every one of those investors are going to be calling you nervous and scared. And what people do when they are nervous and scared can cause operational issues and trouble. And that's the thing that I don't like about using other people's capital for long-term investments, maybe shorter terms. Knock yourself out. But for longer terms investments, you got to just really consider the emotional, psychological makeup of the individuals that you're doing business with, because I promise you that will cost you money at some level, because not only are you doing business with them, if they don't have a proper estate plan, you're going to end up doing business with one of their relatives or family members. And I've been in those situations, and they're just not pleasant for anybody. So it's just really, really rough, and it takes a lot of emotional energy. So I'm nothing against syndications. I'm very pro. However, if you can find a business model that produces enough cash, you won't need syndication at all. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Love it. Thanks for the gems. That's why I'm bringing people in the room. First off, make sure y'all follow Jay Matt and everybody. You don't have this on the club, man. I was going to say follow the club, but this is the zone. So this is amazing. Me and Mickey are actually in about 2 weeks. We're doing a room on the things that the wealthy do. Talking about Black wealth and talking about wealth in general. She has billionaire clients, and I'm talking to billionaires and people like yourself up there. So I got to get you part of that conference. Not conference, just it's Clubhouse. But me, you, Mickey, Portia's going to be there. Maybe we can get Flame in there. I don't know. I'm just going to have a powerhouse room, and I think that it'll be great. So I'm going to touch base with you about that, and I also got to touch base with you about connecting you with the lender. I know we already talked, but I'm a huge fan of yours, and make sure y'all follow Jay Massey if nothing else.
I like that. I like that a lot. And if I can be invited to that, then hey, that sounds like fun to me. All right. So Mark, you are the last question that I see, or person on stage at the moment. I'm curious. Do you have a question for Shawn, myself, or what did you learn from what you heard today? And now you guys know why I like a podcast, because it can be edited after. Mark, you there? So you don't hear this stuff on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm in the building, Jay Massey. I'm here, bro.
Oh, okay, got it. I was saying, did you have a question for Mark or myself? Or sorry, for Shawn or myself? Or what did you learn today from what you heard?
I jumped in kind of late, so I'm kind of just listening in and here to support what you have going on. But, I'm always learning from you, brother. So I'm just being a student today. I heard you mention hotels, and that's very interesting because that's something that I'll be jumping into in the very near future. So hopefully we can connect at some point.
Got it. Well, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to be doing a number of podcast episodes this way where they're being recorded and I'm talking to you guys. And yes, hotels for me are a natural next step. As you heard Shawn mention earlier, his natural next step was apartment buildings. And it makes perfect sense. Once you master one topic, you often seek to know the next. And having been in the short-term rental industry for a while and having systems that can span multiple continents and being able to work, a short-term rental business in such a remote fashion that it literally takes maybe an hour a week or now for me, then the natural next step is, how can I do this at a larger scale? So I think of short-term rentals as the single family version of, hospitality. And then you go to hotels being the quote unquote multifamily version of hospitality. And so many of those same principles apply. And that's exactly what we're looking to do and why we're looking to do it. So hopefully that also adds a little bit of clarity. Now, for those of you listening on the podcast, I am definitely glad that you have been here. We're glad to be back, and hopefully you will definitely take the time to share and subscribe, and ultimately just come back to the Cashflow Diary. Listen and learn, because ultimately what can happen is putting you in a space to grow. In fact, Shawn, here's my last question to you. All right. There's probably someone listening right now who has made it through this journey, meaning their journey through faith, the faith to actually take action on something that they have heard today. They are now in a spot. They started today with, I don't know if I can, but they listened to you and said, what? If he can do that, if he can sit there for 8 years at a job and still do this on the side and this, that, and the other, if he can do that, coming from where he came from, then maybe I can too. However, like I know, that in the back of their head, there's that annoying little voice that reminds us of, well, you remember what happened last time you tried something? And oh my goodness, you're going to do what? And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is, if they are now at that point, that precipice of decision, if you will, if they're at that point where they are ready to make action happen right now, what would you suggest that they do in the next 24 to 48 hours to make sure that they stay on that journey?
Well, first, Jay, if they're at that point, their mindset has began to shift, and it's awesome, right? But I would say to those people that on the other side of fear is success. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time. On the other side of that nagging feeling, that voice in the back of your head, right, that you're trying to suppress, on the other side, success. That's where it is. You have to go through that feeling that you just explained, Jay. We've all had it. There are some people that have it, as you mentioned, right now. You have to fight through that, because on the other side of that is success. And I would say in the business that I'm in, Jay, the buy and hold business, the 1 to 4 residential and commercial space, real estate space, you have to understand that when you become the source of deals, you know what a realtor told me once, Jay? If you list, you last, right? So if you master the ability, the art of going direct to seller, there's so many different avenues you can take in real estate, and you can begin building that legacy for your family. But you have to take that action. That's what I would tell them, Jay.
Love it. 100%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means go to ikeptit10k.com. Why? Because you know that you're ready to get started, and you already know the law of diminishing intent. You intend to do it, right? I'll do it after lunch. No, do it right now. That's what it means for you to move at the speed of instruction, because, hey, there is no time like the present. And if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? At the end of the day, the only thing that you are guaranteed is death. But make sure that you have lived. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.